What the? I got this weird remote, but how does it work? Oh,
Oh crap, my voice, it's sounding all high pitched. Oh no, how do I change this? Maybe if I go here.
Getting there. Getting there.
okay. All fixed that now. All fixed. Now let's get on with the review. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new review, and this review is going to be episode 4 of my series of underrated gems. And this underrated gem is not going to be for an animated film. This is going to be the first live action film that's going to be appearing that I'm going to be reviewing in this series. And this is for one of those Adam Sandler comedies from the 2000s, or somewhat dramedy, as I prefer to call this one. Because this is technically both a comedy and a drama. And I think you can tell just by the intro here, this review is going to be for none other than what I like, Click, from 2006. Yeah. So before I get into details, what's the plot of this? Well, Michael Newman is a hard-working family man who must please his boss in order to get promoted. Problem is, he gets less time with his family and wishes for a remote for which he can control his life. This soon comes true for Newman when he meets Morty, a crazy sales clerk who has the ultimate remote. A remote in which he can do anything, including muting, skipping, and dubbing his life. He finds this to be the opportunity for which he can not only skip every argument, but also skip to his promotion. He sees this as a good idea, until the remote goes horribly wrong. So yeah, but how was the bill made? Well, around July 2003, Sony purchased Steve Carell and Marco Kiff's spec script named Click for $1.7 million, with plans for it to be an Adam Sandler film produced by Revolution Studios, Columbia Pictures, and Neil H. Moritz's company original film. The purchase occurred as the Korean and O'Keefe pen Bruce Almighty had grossed $236 million domestically in its 2-month run. Click was the second comedy Moritz produced for Columbia Pictures after Not Another Teen Movie from 2001. Although Sony planned filming to begin in April 2004, after Sandler finished shooting Spanglish, this was postponed for Karen and O'Keefe to rewrite the script under the supervision of Juan Jose Campanella, who was also planned to direct the film as announced by Variety on May 2004. However, he was then replaced by Frank Korecki, who had directed other Sandler films like The Wedding Singer from 1998 and The Waterboy, also from 1998. And in March 2005, executive producer Tim Hurley has also enacted several script revisions, and Christopher Walken joined the cast on February 23, 2005. ImageWorks began working on digital effects for Click in January 2006 without any research and development. And most of the effects were shot composting. 3-dimensional graphics were also made for the display of the remote and matte painting. A few settings such as the Bed and Beyond warehouse, a city background in Michael's workplace, and a water background at his home. Programs such as Cinema 4D and Autodesk Maya were used to produce the graphics. In order to make the fast-forwarding and rewinding look DVD-like, effects of interface video and scanlines slicing through were added. Motion-controlled photography and green screen effects were used for scenes when Michael looked back on his life with the remote, meaning that there were occasionally 2 Michaels in the same shot. While rotoscoping was used for the sequence when he changes the color of his face with the remote. So yeah, but filming the movie in general began in late 2005 and was finished in early 2006. Click would go on to be released in the United States on June 23, 2006 by Columbia Pictures. It would be made on a budget of $82 million and grossed $240 million worldwide. Upon release, like usual Sandler movies, it received mixed reviews from critics, but it was nominated for Best Makeup at the 79th Academy Awards. It, of course, lost the award to Pan's Labyrinth, and so Click was pretty much the only Sandler-produced film as of this year, currently to be nominated for the Academy Award. And over the few years, a lot of Sandler fans have grown to like this film, and it's kind of grown a bit of a cult following them. They consider it one of his better films of the 2000s. But now, when it comes to my reaction, I remember first watching this film on Netflix back in 2017, and I gotta say, this is actually among my favorite Sandler films and my favorite comedy films from Sandler. Now, I was not sure about watching this one. I mean, I like some of Adam Sandler's films. I mean, there are some films I like from him, and there are some films I don't like. And I thought just by the trailers alone, this movie didn't really look too good. But I was very happy I ended up giving this movie a chance, because not only is it entertaining, but it also gives you a sustainable approach of what is actually meaningful in life. It makes you laugh and cry and think about its essential message even when the movie itself is over. Click is a pretty interesting comedy with a serious approach about the importance of having a balanced life between family and work business. Adam Sandler performs a role of this, like the plot. Adam Sandler performs a role of a liberal professional that does not give priority to his family trying to be successful in his own career, and have a chance to see how his procedure would affect his beloved family. There are some low-level jokes occasionally, like the entertainment of his dog, but they're also pretty hilariously. I'll get to the comedy stuff in a bit. Kate Beckinsale also has some pretty great chemistry with Adam Sandler, and Christopher Walken is also pretty funny in the role of a quite crazy angel that gives Sandler the remote. I mean, at first he seems like a store clerk, but he turns out to be this angel of death. So, yeah, the film even surprises on several levels. Like, first, the actual story, while nothing new in and of itself, was very well executed in a unique way. And second, the acting was top-notch from all involved, and the characters were pretty well-written and believable, not just one-dimensional placeholders that are strictly to move the plot along. And third, the production value was very impressive from the sets and the special effects, yet none of it was overly distracted or seemed over the top or done just for the sake of doing it. There's some very tasteful and did not detract from the over the top or done just for the sake of doing it. Some very tasteful and did not detract from the story. And even after all these years, the effects do not seem dated at all. And fourth, while this movie is technically marketed as some comedy film, it's actually very touching and had many very dramatic and thoughtful moments regarding life choices and family relationships. This is a great package that has aged well and is timeless in many ways. But now for comedy film, the first thing I must be addressed about this movie, it is not a comedy all the way through. The first half is where most of the jokes are, but then the later half of the movie takes a serious turn towards the middle. So if you're expecting a laughing riot, I'd probably look elsewhere, or turn off the movie at the halfway mark, because this is technically a dramedy film. The trailers may make this movie look like a comedy, but it's technically more of a dramedy film. And dramedy, guys, is when I call both comedy and drama. Because they're two different genres, just combine the words together and they call it dramedy. That's what I like to call it. The jokes do get pretty fast from the right get-go. The premise is good with this television-like remote control. You can pretty much control your life. You can fast forward through all the unpleasant scenes in your life, or freeze frame something that is happening now. Or you could go back into time with your life. It all sounds good, but as our main character Michael Newman found out, it's actually not so good. It's a key message here too, that avoiding the bad things is not necessarily what's best for us. The major message is that spending time with your family is more important than putting your job ahead of them, as far as priorities go. And the message even leads to some touching scenes in the final 30 minutes of this comedy. As funny as this film goes, you'd be hard pleased not to have some tears in your eyes at some point near the end of this film. There's especially this very sad scene in the film where Michael realizes the remote made him miss the death of his dad, and he has to take him to the last time he saw his dad, where his alternate self has gotten overly obsessed with his work, and he yells for his own dad to get out when he's trying to show him this quarter trick he's obsessed with showing the whole family throughout the film. I actually get tears in my eyes every time I see that part. And speaking of Michael, he may seem a bit unlikable in the first half, but he's one of those unlikable protagonists that gets some proper character development. Like, because basically he starts out as a workaholic who's constantly worried and stressed out, and despite loving his family, he never makes enough time for them. After getting the remote, he starts growing and realizing his mistakes and seeing how much of a bad father, husband, and son he's been. Till then, and by the end of this movie, he decides to start embracing the good things in his life and the time with his family. And I also think that Morty's Universal Remote is a pretty interesting and entertaining gadget. And well, yeah, this is technically a dramedy film. There's still some funny moments in the first half. Basically, there's a funny scene that does get me laughing of all the jokes in the first half of the movie is during one of Michael's more fun times with the remote, he fast forwards to get to work. He stops to look at a jogger in slow motion, and then continues fast forwarding all the way to work. And then he sees himself a little pale, decides to give himself a more tan color so he looks a little better at work. And he finds a bunch of colors. There's yellow, pretty much imitating the Spanish pirate, and then there's green, he imitates the Hulk. And then there's a color purple where he imitates Barney, and him commenting on the jogger, or how attractive the jogger was to him. And then he finds the tan color and uses that. Then when he gets inside work, there's his sexual harassment meeting, and he pretty much changes the sizes and little dialogue or language of his boss to make it a little funnier. And now I will admit that does get a laugh all the time. But back to bad qualities. I will admit, guys, the premise is recycled. Like, take for instance, It's a Wonderful Life for Bruce Almighty. Well, because technically all three of these movies are people seeing how great their lives are when they think they're not, after altering it. And both this film and Bruce Almighty do actually have a tearjerker scene near the end of both those films. The story floats along well with some more lightheartedness and comedy earlier on in the film, but it gets darker and there's even a little twist about the latter part which is quite predictable. But every character plays their part well, especially the little adorable girl that plays as Adam Sandler's kid daughter. I mean, her reaction to a particular scene was pretty funny and cute as well. Like, I also like that the kids in this movie don't really seem to be annoying. Here's the that was good. Now, alright. For all those Sandler haters out there, I get there's some bad qualities with this film for sure. I mean, I know there's some users who still don't like this movie. I mean, even Rambo Rat for Life hated this movie. But, now, so I will admit, there are some things I have a problem with in this film. Like, first off, there's tons of uncensored sex jokes in this film, and this film's supposed to be rated PG-13. Like, the infamous scene where the dog literally humps a plush duck, and the kids call it wrestling, is one example. And then second, John Ammer, played by David Hasselhoff, aka Michael Boss, is very unlikable due to him being ignorant, rude, mean-spirited, idiotic, and ungrateful for all the hard work Michael does, and pretty much causes a majority of Michael's problems throughout the whole film. So technically speaking, he's kind of the antagonist of this movie to me, as he's technically the one who kind of helped contribute to all of Michael's problems. And third, there is this one unfunny gag of Michael constantly remarking the hotness of his daughter and even her breast size. I think in one of the futures. One of the future times where I think it's in the scene where he realizes where he skipped through time and he ended up getting fat, which could come off as not just creepy but also kind of incest. But despite those bad moments, I still enjoy Click and consider it one of Sandler's most underrated films for sure. I really like how with Uncut Gems in 2019 and recently with Hustle apparently on Netflix, he's kind of going back to more drama-like roles, and should just stick with those roles more often. Anyway, that's it for my review of Click, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Click, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see Sandler evenly balance out both comedy and drama at the same time, then I would easily give this film a watch and then buy it out to your collection for sure, as long as you are willing to get through the comedy after the film. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Click, I'm going to give Click an 8 out of 10. There we go. That covers up my review for Click. And that was the first live-action film to be reviewed on my Underrated Gems series. But,
Until then, that'll be it for this. Oh, not again. Hold on.
Alright. I almost high-pitched myself again. Until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.